You will notice in all my videos, I am weirdly deciding to only focus on my face, and you never see below my body. It is because I think I am a monster from below my face. Because the rest of it is completely disabled. I have devastating scoliosis, which I feel makes me look like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And for my body of 4'11", it seems, I'm 200 pounds because I went on a medication, several, and gained weight. And I could do things like reverse my diabetes in 6 months simply by not eating sugar, changing my complete lifestyle. And I did not lose a pound and still haven't. I've only wrestled with about 15 pounds. So, I constantly have panic attacks and hate myself because I look like this. And I have to go out like this every day of my life. I think I am a huge monster and that I look abnormal and embarrassing and awkward and I look like a freak. And I used to feel beautiful, attractive, and even feel a person with a disability. I'm beautiful. I really used to think like I was not the typical disabled person because I was beautiful. I was 120 pounds and very beautiful. But I got sick, gained the weight, and then lost my ability to do almost everything. I lost my ability to walk 4 years in a row, lost all mobility. I could not even make it to the toilet on my own. I became completely incontinent. I could only pathetically wheel a little bit and wheel back, which was incredibly difficult. I had so much sympathy for people who are in a wheelchair, but I really should be in a wheelchair. My CP is that bad that I do have an electric wheelchair that I just got, and accepting that I now have to use a wheelchair led me on my knees, having the most devastating breakdown, because I keep losing all my strength and ability and then gaining it back a little bit. And I am in so much pain sometimes. Like I wake up every morning feeling like I have been in a plane accident. And when I tell you that, I'm being 100% honest. It is like waking up and realizing you are in the most extraordinary pain. And although every night I'm grateful for sleep because my life became so bad that I could no longer sleep. The reality that I had to get up and wake up and do the same hard, impossible thing every day sent me into this nervous energy where I constantly worried about if I was going to get sicker, end up in the hospital. If I were to end up in the hospital, how would I even get there? Because I'm too weak to even get on my scooter or get on my walker because I can't even walk. And when the ambulance finally takes me, will they allow me to keep my assistive device? I pleaded with them several times, please let me have my assistive device, and they didn't. And then I would not know how to get home. I would say, you didn't let me have my walker, you didn't let me have my wheelchair, but they would still say, okay, now you gotta go home, when I had no idea how to navigate the world without my assistive device. And then one time, they discharged me from the hospital 4 hours before a wheelchair van would become accessible. So I'm just sitting there crying because I still believed I need to be in the hospital. I had cellulitis on my foot, and the wound kept getting bigger and bigger, not better. And the infection was sucking the life out of me. I couldn't do anything by myself at home. Things were becoming dangerous. If I fell, I couldn't get up. In these 4 years where I battled health concerns and becoming bedbound and wheelchair bound and unable to do anything, to the point where I should practically be in assisted living if I can't do all these things for myself. So I had to constantly do things in flight and fight. I would say, well, I guess I have no choice but to have to do these things and keep doing them over again so I can do it. And when I learned I could no longer walk without hanging on in my apartment, or have the ability to keep my back up, and my legs are crumbling under my weight. They're so weak. They're crumbling under my weight and cannot walk for more than a couple steps, not standing for more than a couple seconds. I did not recognize my body. I did not recognize my life. And so I never gave myself permission to sleep. I once stayed up for months. And people say that's not possible. I did not sleep for months. And the only way I knew I was sleeping is if I fell inside of a nightmare for 2 or 3 hours. My body would just half fall asleep in desperation. And of course, in that state, all I could do is have nightmares about what I feared in this life. So I would have a dream where I'm afraid because I can't walk and I don't know what to do and I'm alone. And I would have dreams of demons attacking me and suffocating me and murdering me. I thought, and then when I was in the hospital the 4th time, I gradually stiffened until I couldn't even lift my head. I gradually became so weak from the infection. I was bedbound and couldn't even get to a commode. I was so frightened. I was desperately trying to get a hold of my family. And they thought I was being They did not believe in the reality. So I was sending them emails, trying to call them, trying to text, and I was begging for physical therapy for my dad, and he said, "Get a job and pay for it yourself." He had no reality of how it was in my world. He really did think I'm the 20-something girl who walked just fine and is just being a little brat and a burden for asking for help. He had no conception that his daughter had a disability, because when I was in my 20s, my disability did not even affect me. All I did was walk different. Now everything is different. And I could not believe how my life changed from one day to the next. And after the fourth infection, I really thought it was going to kill me, because when I came into the hospital, I had to be forced, because I was so tired of going to the hospital and them telling me nothing's wrong and forcing me to get out. Like, I would be so weak I couldn't walk, but they would discharge me saying, "Just take your antibiotics." I was so sick and needed to be in the hospital on IV antibiotics, but they did not want to believe someone other than themselves. And I remember saying, "Please, doctor, I need IV antibiotics to close that wound. It has been over 4 months, and this has just gone on and on. I need to be healed. I need this solution. Please listen to me. Please hear me." And he said, "Julia, you need to be positive." And I said, "No, I just understand what my body needs. After such a long time of having an infection and it getting worse and it opening up deeper, I know, because I had Crohn's disease and developed antibiotic resistance, I need IV antibiotics to fight this. And anybody with cellulitis needs IV antibiotics to fight this." But he's like, "No, I'm just going to put you on antibiotics for 6 months. I have cerebral palsy and have to take care of myself. How can I be on antibiotics for 6 months when it takes away my life?" And there were so many times they dismissed me without doing anything for me when I was so sick. I got treated subhuman. I remember I called about my toe, and they said, "There's nothing wrong. Take your antibiotics." But I knew I had never been this sick, and I was losing my abilities too fast. And I knew something really bad was around the corner, and nobody was going to believe the true state I was in. And it frightened me. It frightened me that I was all alone with the thought that things were much worse than they seemed, and nobody was going to take you seriously or help you. And then eventually they did IV antibiotics too late. And I feel I was like at the end stages, because when my sister forced me in the hospital, because I was so damaged emotionally by how I was treated, trying to treat myself, that I could not go into a hospital. I would get a panic attack. That my sister had to call for me. And I remember saying to the MT, I can't go to the hospital. I have no way to get back. That's not a concern right now. Are you really ill? And I said, yes. And I assumed they were going to do nothing. But I actually had a very high fever, was going in and out of consciousness, and they even tested me, and they did not know what's wrong, but they knew they had to do something quick. They tested me for everything and anything between. I was getting tested for meningitis, everything, because they could not explain why I was so weak, why I couldn't walk, why all this weakness and inability to do things, and my inability to move. They thought it was meningitis, and I had to have a spinal tap. Where was all this rush when I was starting to get that sick? Well, I already was that sick, but they just didn't care. I remember it was getting close to my bone, and they still did not change their course of treatment. To be treated that way, I always felt subhuman. I felt that my life did not have any value. I would come home and cry and say, you're a horrible person that nobody loves, because look, this is how you're treated. Everybody thinks you're a bad person. And now, like today, I woke up like the Tin Man. I just imagine not being able to move from the bottom to the top of your head, and you're not born with balance. So this is what walking is actually like. You know those tightrope walkers that walk only on rope but balance with a stick? That's how I walk. There's no balance. There's no you are just on a tightrope. Or it's like being on ice, or what did I compare it to? Just imagine having no balance and then having so much stiffness and tone that every walk is very painful. And this was not my reality all my life. I overcame my disability and people barely saw it. So it was devastating for this to happen. Absolutely devastating. What was so difficult about it too was I didn't have a family that believed that I was so sick. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was alone in an apartment all day, just crying. And I remember saying all the time, like, God, why have you taken away my ability to walk? Why have you forsaken me? Why have you done this to me? I believed in you and I prayed to you, and I never gave up on you or lost faith in you, but you're destroying me, and I don't know if I can survive this. I might have to go into assisted living, and if that's my case, I don't know if I can go on like that. And imagine when you can finally sleep, because they have you on so much medication. You have no choice. You have now developed night terrors because of how much of PSD you have developed throughout those 4 years. And I remember when this first realization that I was losing my ability to walk, I was standing and, actually, for some reason, and I don't think the COVID vaccine caused this, but I took the last COVID vaccine and I couldn't feel my legs. And I couldn't stand for more than 10 seconds. And, yeah, and the fact that I had no strength in my legs, couldn't stand, had no balance, frightened me so much I was crying to my friend. And then I started crying to my family. And my emotional pain was so overwhelming for my family that they couldn't do it. And I just I want to break. I want to break from this reality sometimes. It's really hard. And on top of that, I had a PSW in the last 2 years of this problem. She would say, "I don't know how you do it. I couldn't have, I wouldn't have, like, I would not go on like this. I would have already committed suicide. I don't know how you did it. I would have already killed myself. I don't know why you still do this. I would have already committed suicide." Every day, telling me how my life was so pathetic, hard, difficult, and so low of quality that she would think of nothing but to just commit suicide and check out. And I was supposed to take that and still find the strength within me to survive all this. I thought about taking my life so many times. Actually, I was mad at myself that I couldn't take my life, because it seemed I was brave enough to live, but not brave enough to die. I wanted nothing more than a break from this pain, a release. I wanted anything but this, a release from the mental pain. But I was so afraid of death, I couldn't do it. So even though she was taunting me every day, I even said, should I take my life? Is that why you're saying that? And she just said, I could just never do it. I would have given up a long time ago. And one time she said it as though like, "Oh, I just don't know how you go on like this. Like, I could never. I would just go." And it's like she was saying, "Oh, your life is so like bad and horrible. I don't even know how anyone would want to live this life." And she made me feel like I was worthless. And then I started to really think, oh my God, I really am in that much pain. I really can't walk, and I'm really done. If a woman finds my life so bad that she thinks, oh, if I had her life, I'd just kill myself. This is not worth it. It messed me up. And I just felt like I was forced to live because I just had no other choice. And I had no choice. I could not just lay in bed because I would be in so much pain. It was unbearable. If I were to sleep all day, if I was depressed, I would feel like I was a car crash victim. And I'm only one person. I need people's advice to know what to do. How do I stop this pain? How do I conquer this? Yeah. And, I just pulled both my arms. I hate to be so negative. This is which my family thinks I am, because I constantly talk about myself and the situation I'm in. But my life is hard and it's difficult. And I became someone I never thought I'd become. And it makes me so scared. The number one thing I have typed to my family is, I'm so scared, I'm so afraid. I've never known such fear. I don't know if anybody can help me because it's not going to change the situation. And, yeah, and the thing that haunts me the most is that I know what's going to take me down. Probably an infection that slowly paralyzes me. People with disabilities just like to focus. I may have a disability, but I'm fine and I can do everything and I'm great. I'm not.